Yeah. Okay, guys, it looks like we're starting. We are starting.
Right.
We are starting, yes. And we have held over. Okay, thanks, guys. We have held over one of the deputations. So Phil is here to make a deputation. And so Phil, we are initially in your hands. This is on clause 52 and various other supplementaries as well.
Okay. Specifically on the report, which we only received this morning, and I am the only one of us who could make it to this meeting, so here I am. I haven't looked at the report in detail. I see it as another step in the systematic removal of our property rights since Mr. Brownlee decided that he wouldn't introduce the I ask you to send it back for more detail on the issues which we saw as being very contentious and that we understood to be included. And yes, actually I commend the council for the decision on the Phillipstown School made this morning. It was fantastic to come into an environment where you were all sort of upholding democracy. And I ask you to do the same for Port Hills residents who are still stuck in this situation.
Sorry.
Fine. Well, that. Well, I've pretty much said what I wanted to say. I've pretty much said what I wanted to say. Please, as our council, advocate for us. You know, in the democratic processes that are supposed to be happening. Yeah, that's it.
Yanni, have you?
I think the problem is we've just been given this report this morning. I've told people that it wasn't on the agenda, so people haven't come and they would have a real interest in it. Phil's come at short notice, I presume. So I just think we need more time to understand what this report is saying and enable the local people that are interested to be involved in what recommendations we look at going forward. So, you know, I think it's great that Phil's come here today, but I don't think we can give it proper consideration when it's just, you know, put on our desk.
Can I just say that the previous council commissioned a report from GNS, you know, authored by Tony Tague and Chris Massey, etc., which made some recommendations. You know, it made strong recommendations to include residents in these hazard areas in any conversation over what happens to their houses. It simply hasn't happened. We haven't had any, very minor influence on any of the decisions that have been made on our behalves. It's simply not right.
All right. Phil.
Look, I tend to agree with Yanni that I've just read through the report and it is really complex, including legal ramifications. And I would like to deal with this more carefully at a future council meeting. I just want to check with Phil Elmy though. Phil, I know you've had some discussions with the council staff. Are you really saying, look, that they weren't kind of like meaningful conversations in terms of relation to your own property and mitigation?
Well, I guess, Phil, that a lot of what those conversations were about really just haven't been addressed in the revised report that we're seeing today.
So you're saying the issues that you raised haven't been addressed sufficiently.
Many of them, that's right.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Which perhaps is which is something which, you know, we as a councillors should have future discussions with the residents like Phil, and so we're absolutely clear about the, I guess what's behind the recommendations that the staff have made.
So, well, this is, we're not dealing with this item. In fact, I mean, the irony is that we've got a legal report which is in the public excluded section, and it's almost like we need to deal with the legal issues before we deal with the report. But I'm just wondering, how do we do that as a matter of process?
We have to go into PX and then come out of it.
Yeah.
If you want to do it now, but do it.
Well, is that the best way to proceed, to go into public excluded, deal with the legal report, come out and then deal with the report that Phil's been speaking to?
Is, do we need to deal with this today? You know, there's other information that some of us would want, like copies. I don't know if we've been provided with it, but copies of the peer review, copy of the costs, and all that stuff.
Okay.
I presume should be in the public realm because that's relevant to the residents. But
I'm getting
we don't
a
seem to.
shake of the head from Mike Teelan, our Chief Planning Officer, which is that we don't have to proceed with this report today. So if that is the case, then I would suggest that it lie on the table until the next meeting of the council. But perhaps you could come to the table, Mike.
That's correct. You don't have to deal with this today. I mean, it was, if you recall when we had the last meeting, and we sort of had the long list, I think I expressed at that point to be a bit of a struggle to get the matters looked at in time, but we have, but it's been late, and so the report only came out yesterday. So I do acknowledge that it did come out late, but there was a lot of work being done. So it's certainly on the cards for it to remain on the table and for that to be considered at the next council meeting. Quite happy for that to happen.
Well, that would enable us to deal with the legal advice this afternoon in public excluded.
Yes, if you wish, you
which
could do
would
that.
be ahead of the dealing with this report.
Yep, that
Oh.
would be perfectly appropriate as well.
All right, so I'm just going to rule that that's the course of action that we will follow on that item on the agenda, and we'll deal with item 53 when we get to the PX section. Right.
Can I say one more thing?
Yep, of course you can.
I represent a number of people, obviously, and groups. The one thing that they have wanted me to convey to the council is that at this point, people have lost faith. There is a myriad of legal action pending.
Yeah.
It's a hard position to be in because that's not the road that I've chosen to take, but you know
No,
that's where it's at out there.
And I've also been aware in the background of the court case in relation to the Rockfall notices,
Indeed.
and a likely appeal in that regard as well.
There are many people out there that are just stuck.
Yeah, I know. This is it's a dreadful situation to be in. David.
They're almost sort of parallels to what we were discussing before with the Phillipstown School, where in some respects we have to stand up and make a stand for our community and advocating as best as we can there. So just a point.
I think that we'll have that discussion when we get to the actual document itself. But look, Phil, in a way, it's there's almost nothing that I can say other than I'm sorry that we're in the situation that we're in. I think you hear from councillors that we're going to try our best to find whatever solution we can, but there are constraints that are outside our control as well. So,
Indeed, I understand. I just implore you, where possible, include us in the conversation.
yeah, certainly.
have you seen a copy of the peer review report?
I believe it's included. I simply haven't had time to digest
Okay.
it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. But can we just make sure that staff provide a copy of that peer review report to the concerned residents so that they can actually see the information? Is that?
They are,
Yeah.
and it's online, so it is publicly available.
Not
So
in my report. Okay.
by the time we come back, so I would certainly invite you to come back at the time that we deal with this. So we'll put it on the agenda for the council meeting in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Again, of course, in this situation, urgency is paramount.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, and I mean, you know, people have got offers too that have to be accepted or otherwise by the 1st of August.
That's right.
So I mean, we do certainly hear the you know, your plea to us to, you know, apply our wisdom judgment to this, but I guess what I'm trying to communicate to you is that there are constraints that are outside our control, and
Indeed.
we'll try and find as best a way through it as we can.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Phil.